Your activism needs to be about keeping these commandments.
This is not what I expected out of them.
The true Bible, the book of our fathers.
Right. The Most High has given us guidance on what we need to do.
It's Officer Eli.
It's also not showing.
Officer Ezekiel.
Shalom, Israel. Most High in Christ bless you all. Welcome to another edition of our show. This is the Bible, the book of our fathers, and we're continuing on in our series that we began with last week. Come out of her, my people. That's the name of our series, and this is part 2. Okay, this part is subtitled, It's Time for Us to Wake Up. And it is time for us to wake up. It's time for us to realize that the Most High is shutting everything down, and he's doing this for the purpose of bringing the Israelites into his fold because he has a purpose for the nation of Israel. We are not allowed to just continue to be wild and loose and to do what we want to do. God created us for a purpose, and it's time for us to get into his purpose and do what he said. And he had a time chart. He had a timeline for us to be in this captivity, and the time is almost up. Okay, I'm Deacon Asaph. Let me introduce my panel because guess what? We got Captain Dakar with us today. Come on with it.
Hey, shalom, Israel. Good to be here with you. I'm Captain Dakar.
Shalom, Israel. Officer Ezekiel.
Shalom, Israel. Also not showing.
Put it in the mic again.
Shalom, Israel. Also not showing.
All praise to the Most High. All praises, Israel. So what we're going to do, we're going to start out right with the scripture because, again, we're going to continue on from where we were from last week, okay? Let's read the scripture again. Let's get our spirit back into this lesson. Revelation chapter 18, verse 4. Officer Nashan, give it to him.
Revelations chapter 18 and verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sin.
That's a commandment right there. That is, the Lord is not even asking. See, a lot of times people don't understand what the Lord is doing. The Lord is saying, come out of her, my people. He's not asking. This is in the New Testament. This is in the New Testament of the Bible, and the Lord is giving a commandment, an order. Let me just say it that way, an order. So this is not a thing of saying the laws of God is done away with. This is a commandment. This is a commandment for the Israelites to come out from among us. Give me Zephaniah 2. Give me Zephaniah 2. I got to do it. Because, again, we need to understand that the Lord is not asking. This is a warning. And this goes along with what he says in Malachi. I'm going to hit these things, and then we're going to get that. Then we're going to get this stuff together. We're going to keep this thing flowing. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Read.
Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1. Gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired.
Now, that's in the Old Testament, and it's literally saying the same thing that we just read in the New Testament. The Lord said, gather yourselves together. If the Most High is gathering us together, if he said, gather yourselves together. So if you're gathering yourselves together, that means you're coming away from everybody else. You can't gather yourselves together and still be with other people. You can't gather yourselves together and still talking about holding hands and being all tied up with everybody else. That's not what God is saying. If God is telling us to gather ourselves together, he didn't say gather everybody together. He said gather yourselves, meaning you. I need you to gather yourselves together. Go ahead.
Verse 2. Before the decree brings forth.
You've skipped something. Read it again. Stay with me.
Gather yourselves together.
Gather yourselves together. Who's the Lord talking to? Go ahead.
Yea, gather together, O nation not desired.
The Lord said, gather together, O nation not desired. That's who the Lord is talking to. The Israelites, the so-called Negroes, West Indian, Haitian, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Mexican, North American Indian, the South Americans, the brothers and sisters in South America, and in Central America, like Naphtali, Issachar, Issachar is in North America. But all of the 12 tribes of Israel, those are the people that is not desired, okay? The North American Indians, the Peruvians, okay? The so-called Mexicans, the Puerto Ricans, the Argentinians, the Israelites that's in Chile. Those are the Israelites that the Most High is talking about. He says, and Asher, the Colombians. Those are the people that the Most High is talking about, the Israelites that are scattered in these areas. Read it again.
Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1. Gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired.
O nation not desired. And the Most High is giving a commandment to the nation of Israel. He said, gather yourselves together. He's not asking. He said, gather yourselves together. Who am I talking to? The nation that is not desired. Read.
Verse 2. Before the decree bring forth.
That's a warning. He said, you have to do this before I kill you. I'm going to just tell you straight up what the Most High said. Before the decree bring forth, before the destruction that Revelation was talking about, before the decree bring forth. Go ahead.
Before the day pass as the chaff.
Before the day pass as the chaff, because the days are going to be wasted, basically. The Most High said that I need you to come out because everything getting ready to come to pass because I'm pulling you out. Go ahead.
Before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you.
Before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you, Israel. Before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you. That's what Revelation is saying. I need you to gather yourselves together and come out of her, my people, so that you be not partakers of her plagues. It's saying the same thing. We're going to read it so you can see it crystal clear. Read that statement again.
Verse 2. Before the decree bring forth.
Before the destruction come, go ahead.
Before the day pass as the chaff.
Before the day pass as a chaff, I need you to gather yourselves together, God said. Go ahead.
Before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you.
I need you to gather together before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you. So that's a commandment. That's an order. We say, I need you to come out. I need you to gather yourselves together. Now go to Revelation. That was it?
Before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you.
Before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you. Now go to Revelation saying the same thing. 18 and 4. Read.
Revelations chapter 18 and verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people.
Saying the same thing that Zephaniah said. Come out of her, my people that is not desired in this wicked Babylon. Go ahead.
That ye be not partakers of her sin.
Translation, what did the other scripture say? It said that ye be not partakers of her sin. What did it say over there? Before that's right. Go ahead.
Before the decree bring forth.
Before the destruction come. It's saying the same thing. Before the destruction come. Go ahead.
Before the day pass as the chaff.
Before the day pass as the chaff. Go ahead.
Before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you.
Before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you. Go back to Revelation. I want y'all to see that the Bible is saying the same thing in the Old Testament and the New Testament, and they both talking about you 12 tribes of Israel.
Revelations chapter 18 and verse 4.
Come on.
And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people.
That's gather yourselves together. Go ahead.
That ye be not partakers of her sins.
Before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you. That's what it's saying. Read.
And that ye receive not of her plagues.
That you receive not of the destruction. Before the day pass as the chaff. Before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you. It's saying the same thing. Is that it on that verse?
Yes, sir.
Now, give me Malachi, the book of Malachi. The book of Malachi, chapter 4, saying the same thing in chapter 4. Malachi chapter 4, read verse 1 so you can see what the fierce anger of the Lord is talking about.
Malachi chapter 4 and verse 1. For, behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven.
That's the day of the fierce anger of the Lord. That day is a fierce anger of the Lord. That's what it's talking about there. Read.
And all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble.
And all that do wickedly shall be stubble. All the proud and those that do wickedly, the Most High's day is going to burn them up. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven. That's what he said in Zephaniah, and that's what he said in Revelation. It's all talking about the exact same day. Is that it on that verse?
No, sir.
Read.
And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts.
That's the plague that Revelation was talking about, that you receive not of her plagues. Okay, now give me verse 4.
Malachi chapter 4 and verse 4.
This is all talking about come out. That's why I'm reading this. Go ahead.
Remember ye the law of Moses.
The Most High said, I want you to remember the law of Moses. That means for us to repent, to make it simple. Go ahead.
Remember ye the law of Moses, my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb, for all Israel, with the statutes and judgments.
For all Israel, my people that are not desired is saying the same thing. Go ahead.
Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord.
The great and dreadful day of the Lord was recorded in Zephaniah, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you. So we have to repent before then. That's why the Lord's saying in Revelation for us to come out from among them. Okay, read.
Verse 6, and he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children.
And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children. The heart of the fathers is the Bible, the book of our fathers. That's what he's talking about. He shall turn the Bible to the children, meaning the Israelites that's in captivity. Go ahead.
And the heart of the children to their fathers.
And he shall turn the mind of the children to the Bible. That's what their fathers are. He shall turn the mind, the Most High shall turn the mind of his people to the Bible, the book of our fathers. Go ahead.
Lest I come and smite the earth with a curse.
I have to wake up the Israelites for them to come out before I bring the curse that the first verse was talking about. I have to do this before the first verse of Malachi 4 come into play. That's that nuclear heat. I have to wake them up with the Bible. I have to get my people to return unto me. I need them to come out. I need them to remember the laws and keep the commandments and repent before I bring the destruction, before the great day of the Lord come upon us, before the destruction come, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon us, so that we don't receive the plagues that the Most High have for everybody else that's not the Israelites. That's what this is talking about. So that's the message of this whole series, for our people to return and come out of this Babylonian messed up situation that we're in. Talking about voting and all of that madness. The Most High is getting ready to bring devastation to this whole society, all because of you Israelites. You're the people of God, and God has a purpose for you Israelites to come out from among them so that he can beautify the meek with salvation. That's you. You're the meek that the Bible's talking about. The meek, that's us. Now, let me show you some of the reasons why. Because the Most High has to bring illustrations. He has to have situations to come down on our people to wake them up. Give me one more, and then we're going to get into the video. Yes, sir. We played this video last week with our brother D.L. Hughley. Okay, we're going to play that video again because we had to stop it, but I'm going to kind of let it play out in its entirety so that we can get the feel of what's happening to us in this society. And we're trying to make it right. You can't make it right. The Most High is not going to allow it to be made right. The Most High said you cannot bring a clean thing from an unclean. This society was never meant for us to get assimilated in. It was only set up for our punishment because we broke the laws of the Most High. You're supposed to be ruling the whole entire planet Earth under God's laws. That's your lot. Your lot is not to be just mere what you mistakenly think you're citizens. We're not citizens in this society. We're the only people that have an expiration on our voting rights. We're the only people. And I got that document too, just in case some of us are thinking that we are somehow citizens. We're denizens, okay? We're the servants. That's how they see us. That's the reason why they treat us the way they treat us, okay? Now, where was I at? Give me Hosea 5:15. This is the reason why the Most High is causing all this to happen, because it's time for our people to wake up. Hosea chapter 5:15.
Hosea chapter 5 and verse 15. I will go and return to my place till they acknowledge their offense and seek my face. In their affliction, they will seek me early.
In the affliction that the Most High is going to bring on Israel to wake us up, we will seek him early. Read it again.
Hosea chapter 5 and verse 15. I will go and return to my place till they acknowledge their offense.
Until we acknowledge our offense against him. God says, I will return. And he said, I will, what did he say? I will what?
I will go and return to my place.
I will go from the presence of you. I will go and leave you in the fire. I will go and leave you. That's what he said in Leviticus. That's what the point that he said in Leviticus. He said that he would punish us 7 times more because we refuse to obey him. And I will leave you in the hand of those that hate you. And those that hate you shall rule over you. And I'm going to leave you there until you acknowledge what you did unto me, Israel. And when you get when you get beat up and killed and spoiled, maybe you'll have enough sense to return unto me because I'm your father. That's what the Most High is saying. Okay, read that again.
Hosea chapter 5 and verse 15. I will go and return to my place till they acknowledge their offense.
Until we acknowledge our offense. So why is God causing all of this to happen? Read.
and seek my face.
And we will seek the face of God. That's what the Most High mean when he says, come out of her, my people. It ain't necessarily talking about a physical separation, so we ain't got to be acting all crazy with the nations and all that, because we can't go nowhere. This whole earth is underneath the rule of evil. So there ain't no place where you can get away from him. So, but the Most High wants us to gather ourselves together as Israelites and keep his commandments. That's what he's talking about. He ain't talking about you getting on a plane and flying somewhere. No, he's talking about for us to gather ourselves together and keep his commandments as a nation. He said, when you do that, then I'm going to take you from the hand of your enemies and from all that hate you. Go ahead.
In their affliction.
In our affliction,
they will seek me early.
We will seek God early. That's the reason why the Most High is bringing the affliction on us, because he wants us to wake up. Now, let's get into the video. Like I said, with our brother D.L. Hughley. This is what he brings this information out, and it's about our sister that was murdered. Let me say that again. That was murdered, our sister Brianna Taylor. She didn't know she was Israel, but she could have repented. And the Most High allowed that thing to happen. And it's a shame. But he allowed it to happen to give us a wake-up call. Because this is what, and it's Brianna Taylor this day, tomorrow to be somebody else. Yesterday it was another sister. The other day it was Ahmaud Arbery. The other day it was Trayvon Martin. The other day it was, name some of the brothers. Name some of the people that got killed. Because there's so many of them. You can't even, Eric Gardner. There's more. What's the both?
Tamir Rice.
Right, Tamir Rice. Both of them, Gene, for nothing, as we think is for nothing. But like I pointed out before, because too many of us are evil, and when too many of us are evil, even those that are trying to do right get caught up with death. Brianna Taylor was what you would call a good sister, saving lives,
Right.
Trying to get her life together. By all standards, she would have been a model citizen. Why in the world would she die? And when I say die, I don't mean she died of natural causes. She died because she was murdered. She was killed, murdered in her sleep. Wow, that's horrible. You go to sleep and you don't wake up.
After working hard.
After working hard. She worked 4 shifts, brother.
Wow.
4 shifts. That EMT work is not easy.
Come home to get some rest, then you got to worry about somebody shooting you to death.
And then they justify it, and they get your black attorney general to have them all get off. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that too. Okay, so let's get our brother in, D.L. Hughley. Come on with it. This is D.L. Hughley reacts to Brianna Taylor's verdict. No justice was served. That is correct. Come on with it.
So the verdict was handed down in the Brianna Taylor case, as such as it is. It is wanton endangerment, which is right above hunting without a license. It was interesting that Daniel Cameron, who is the first black attorney general of the state of Kentucky, spent more time explaining.
Can I say something
Yeah,
right there?
Yeah. Just come on in.
Understand this. The man that he is talking about is his niece. He married a Caucasian woman. He married an Edomite. And her uncle is the senator over all the senators.
Wow.
Which is
so this is the attorney general you're talking
yes,
about. He's the one that married the Edomite.
He married the Edomite, and come to find out, the one that's over the Senate, that's his niece.
Right.
He's over the state of
Put the
Kentucky.
microphones closer so they'll
He's
get
over
it in there.
Kentucky
This is going to get hot, so y'all got to put it in the mic.
So
Come
this
on.
this was never about justice. This was never about letting them, putting them in prison for that murder. This was never about this. This deal was already done.
Wow.
And that's what DL is trying to explain to us. Even though DL, I know he's trying, and on this level that he's on, he's trying to help us as a people. But I'm telling you, he knows, and like we know, there's nothing too much we can do about it. And the law is on their side. Like they say, this is 2 Americas. There's injustice and there's no justice. And not here. Don't look for none.
Exactly. Y'all got something else to say on that?
I got.
You had a scripture?
I got a
Well,
scripture.
come on with it.
I'm gonna get Micah 2:10. Like you just said. What did you just say? Your last statement, Cap. You said is injustice and what?
And no justice.
And no justice. We ain't getting no justice here.
Right.
This is the land of our captivity. We serving a prison sentence in America.
Right. Just before you read it, just like I said before, like I had this book that I brought up before called Black Robes and White Justice. Okay. This is what we're dealing with. Black robes and white justice
sir.
by this brother here. He was the actual judge. So go ahead with it. So this is going along with what you're saying, and the Bible talks about it too. That's in the book of Habakkuk. We can read that too.
Yes, sir.
Come on with it.
Micah chapter 2 and verse 10.
Uh-huh.
Arise ye and depart.
Just like Deacon just brought out. Come out of her, my people. That's what God's saying. Arise and depart. Not go outside of the country. Okay? Come out of the ways and the influence that you have, that you picked
That's
up
right.
in America. Read on.
Arise ye and depart.
Uh-huh.
For this is not your rest.
This ain't your rest. Yeah, we supposed to get jobs and support our families and support ourselves, support this truth. Yeah, we supposed to do that. But don't be engulfed in the ways of America. Don't be engulfed in the ways that the so-called white man has taught us. Read that again.
Arise ye and depart.
Uh-huh.
For this is not your rest.
Don't get comfortable here. Do what you got to do to live, but keep your mind on keeping the laws of God.
That's heavy. Get Habakkuk real quick. Habakkuk chapter 1 and 4. Okay, they're saying the same thing.
Habakkuk chapter 1 and verse 4. Therefore the law is slack.
The law is slack. They're looking for justice. We ain't gonna get no justice.
Right.
Only thing we're gonna get is just us.
Right.
Read.
Therefore the law is slack.
Therefore, the law, meaning righteousness, meaning correct. Go ahead.
And judgment doth never go forth.
And proper judgment never goes forth. When it comes to our people, proper judgment never goes forth. Go ahead.
For the wicked doth compass about the righteous.
The Most High is telling us that the wicked doth compass the righteous. They're surrounding us with evil. Go ahead.
Therefore, wrong judgment proceedeth.
And because of that, the wrong judgments, the wrong verdicts come out.
Wow.
That's what the Most High is saying there. So go ahead, Boone, with the video. Unless y'all got something else.
I just want to add, that's Senator McConnell's niece, which is the head of the Senate. That's his niece that young man in Kentucky married. And so...
Didn't he get married during this thing? Was that did I see that?
I don't know for sure about that, Dick. I know that he married her.
Right.
That is his niece.
Right.
And so Senator McConnell is the head senator in the United States.
I
Well,
did
that
see that
tells it
picture.
all.
I
Right,
see
right.
the photograph where it was him and a bunch of Edomites.
Right. Now, just so we can be factual, I ain't gonna say that it happened, but I believe I read something that said that he was getting married during
that
time
time.
when all of this was going on. That might be true. That might not be true. I don't know. I'm not gonna put our stake on it. But the point that what you made, Captain Dakar, is 100% on point. That was a trick. Say that again for the people, so we can put it all back in order. He married her, and she had power over the Senate. So you know damn well he wasn't going to do anything against that.
Right.
Go ahead. Tell them
Absolutely.
again.
It was a done deal, though, D. And that's what, DL is trying to bring it out. But this is how, like you said, there's no justice. And so what's happening that we're looking for justice is not going to happen. You're not going to get no peace here. This is not our rest. That's
Right.
what you was talking about. This
Right.
don't make no sense, Israel. We got to be a people that's ready to go home. That's why we're out there and trying to make sure that we speak to our people on every corner, because this thing is just falling apart. It ain't the Congress, the paper that it's written on. The Constitution ain't even worth. They fighting over it.
Right.
Dick talked about that last week. They
Right.
fighting.
Yeah, we ain't even in the Constitution. The only way we're in the Constitution is in the 13th Amendment, put us in slavery. But when you look at the Dred Scott decision, they tell you that the Constitution had nothing to do with us in terms of us being citizens. That's written.
We're considered
And they
cattle.
still and that's still in the Constitution today. They didn't change that. Just think about it. Like I said earlier, how is it that our people have a term limit on voting rights? And that's real. Put that up there real quick, just for the people to see. Since we brought it up, look for that. We coming back to the video. I just want y'all to see that. Read.
6 things to know about the Voting Rights Act.
So this is an article that's talking about the voting rights of black people. Let me just make it straight up clear so you can understand. It says 6 things that we need to know about the Voting Rights Act. Read that first paragraph.
The Voting Rights Act of 1965 outlawed discriminatory voting practices based on race or color. The law has been under a bit of political fire over the last few years. Here's what you need to know.
Here's what you need to know, because the whole issue about voting rights given to people to the race of color has been under fire, and this is some of the stuff that we need to know. Jump down, move down, move down, move down. Voting rights can expire. Right there. Read that.
Voting rights can expire. Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act was supposed to terminate in 1970. However, it has been renewed 4 times and is now not scheduled to expire until 2031.
So wait a minute. So they didn't really say that we good. It just said that the next time you Negroes will be, your voting rights will be suspended was in 2031. So they're not saying that we have the right to vote like other citizens do. Ours expire in 2031. That's crystal clear. That's the stuff that we don't know. I'm going to read it again. Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act was supposed to terminate in 1970. So after 1970, it was supposed to be over with. That's what they said. They said supposed to be terminate in 1970. But however, they extended it basically. They said, however, it has been renewed 4 times. So that means between 1970 and I think they recently just upped it not too long ago. It says that, however, it has been renewed 4 times and is now not scheduled to expire until 2031. So to make it simple, when you read that, it's supposed to say, and now not scheduled to expire, period. Then you say, we got rights like other citizens. They say, no. It ain't indefinitely. It is until 2031. That's the voting rights of black people. Wow. And that's reflective in the Constitution of the United States. That's what they're talking about. This is all connected. Okay? So, coming out of that, where was we at, brothers?
DL Hookley back.
Yes, sir. Let's get back to DL. Let's get back to our brother.
Himself and explaining the things that affected him rather than to tell us what happened. He talked about how there are going to be celebrities who've never lived in Kentucky who will make judgments.
Just so the people know what we're talking about. The DL Hughley is talking about this attorney general who basically botched the case, purposely botched the case for Brianna Taylor so that she could not get justice. And according to what you was bringing out, Captain, is because he was in bed with somebody that's connected to the Senate. Wow. Damn. Sold out. Go ahead.
So the verdict was handed down in the Brianna Taylor case, as such as it is. It is wanton endangerment, which is right above hunting without a license. It was interesting that Daniel Cameron, who is the first black attorney general of the state of Kentucky, spent more time explaining basically himself and explaining the things that affected him rather than to tell us what happened. He talked about how there are going to be celebrities who've never lived in Kentucky who will make judgments. Really? Is the predicate that you have to live somewhere to make a judgment? Does Sean Hannity live in any of the places that he derides? Does Donald Trump live in Seattle or Kenosha or Los Angeles or any of the states that they deride? Did Kyle Rittenhouse live in Wisconsin when he went there and murdered people? So is that the predicate? Daniel Cameron spent more time giving a speech than those officers will do in time. The more things change, the more they stay the same. And I will say this, Judas Iscariot sold out Jesus Christ for 30 talents of silver, and Daniel Cameron did it for $12 million. And I'm telling you, you can say whatever you want to say. Any elected official, particularly the first one, who is the attorney general of a particular state, has higher aspirations. His own aspirations rely on keeping the population, the people that put him there, pleased. How unpleased would they be had they decided to indict these officers? It was a placatory gesture.
Well, we're going to go to another video. Y'all can see the rest of this on your own because time is running. But I want to say something. He made the point that the Attorney General, Daniel Cameron, sold out Brianna Taylor for $12 million. A lot of times we kind of overlook that. That's telling you that they cannot go back and fight the case at all. Because once they settle, that's the end of it. So that's what he mean that's what DL was saying. He said he sold out the family for $12 million. So damn well they're not retrying that again. They said we already paid you. So that's it. That's the justice is gone. Here's some hush money, basically. That's basically here's some hush money. Once you take the money, once you cash the check, as they say, it's over with. They probably got writing on it. You can never bring it back up again, can't use it again. They probably got all kinds of things attached to that check that drops. But they'll keep it going on in the media, making our people think that there's some kind of justice coming. Just like you brought out, Captain, it's over with. And it was done before it even started. That's what Hughley is going into. That's the point that he's making. So now we're going to look at this part here. We just saw the D.L. Hughley piece, and he was correct by what he said. You know, Cameron knew what he was doing when he presented the case to the grand jury. But this is in response of what has happened as he brought it in to the grand jury. I want y'all to take a look at this here. I don't know what this is saying. It says the Kentucky Trial Court Review. When I say I don't know, I mean I don't know about the source. That's what I'm saying. I don't know about the source. But it got a link down there. But this is what it says here in the Kentucky Trial Court Review. I don't know whose page that is, but this is what it says. A grand juror investigating the Brianna Taylor case has filed late this afternoon a motion today that basically says Attorney General Cameron screwed us over and the grand juror wants everything released. Damn.
There was a lot to that, though, Deacon, and I'm glad you touched on that part of it, because what it is that when they found out a lot of the things that that this case that they did not bring out, and just like we were just talking about earlier, there's another guy that they was involved in this case as well, an old boyfriend. But the point right here, when Cameron got a hold of it, he did screw the people over. He did not bring justice, because why? They got away with murder, another murder.
And you know what's amazing about that too, Captain, is because I know a lot of people are trying to, I'm talking about the wicked now, they're trying to justify the police killing her because they're saying that they were operating off of their orders. So that's the reason, that's the case that Cameron is bringing. I'm sure that's what he's bringing. He's making the point to say, how could you fault them when they were operating off of the information that was given to them by the dispatcher? The point that I want to make about that is that somebody's got to be accountable for her murder. Okay? Somebody screwed up. And the reason why I say somebody screwed up, if I'm not on a level of an attorney general, but I have enough sense to realize that somebody's guilty of her murder. The information that came in, because they found the person who they wanted. They said that they had him in custody already. He's already locked up. Once he's locked up, that information gets put into the computer. The people are supposed to be like, you know what, we got it. If there's a raid that's going on, stop it, because we got the person who we want to get.
Exactly.
But because they didn't stop it, they allowed the thing to go on, didn't tell the cops anything. She ended up dead. So guess what? She ended up murdered. Let me say it. I keep saying that. She ends up murdered. Guess what? Somebody's at fault. You know who's at fault? The person that dispatched them, that dispatched the cops. The judge that signed the warrant. There's some accountability got to go down. Y'all already had the guy in custody,
right,
and then y'all still allowed this thing to happen. And this attorney general, he knew that. And the juror is making a point. They said, no. There's too many unanswered questions. Why are you only bringing us this little piece of stuff here? That's what they're saying here. Now, let's go to the video. Let's go to a video where they talked about this. But again, I want to read this point here. Put that thing back up there from Instagram. I want to read that again to get it fresh in your mind about what a juror was so upset with what's happening. She said, the juror said, a grand juror that's investigating the Brianna Taylor case, this juror has filed late this afternoon, meaning that day, a motion that basically says Attorney General Cameron screwed us over. And the grand juror wants everything released. In other words, because the grand juror said, don't blame us. We acted according to what this Judas gave us. That's what DL was making. He said we can only go by what's given to us. And that's why I mentioned before, like when they were asking, remember I told y'all that they called me into jury duty a while back? Yes, and they asked me, can I make a decision based on the evidence that's presented? And I remember that question clearly. They said, can you make an impartial decision or judgment based on the evidence that's brought to you in the courtroom? And that's when I asked the question. I said, well, what if the person who's innocent, but he has an inferior lawyer, and the person that's a criminal, he got a lawyer that's bad as hell, and he can make murder look clean. And I said, so you only want me to go by what these attorneys can bring? They're only going to bring what money allows them to bring. If you got a high power attorney, you can get away with anything. And if you're innocent and you got hardly no kind of representation, you go into jail. So I already knew that the system was corrupt like that. So why would I, knowing this, say, you know what, whatever y'all show before me, I'm just going to roll, because regardless if he has the money to afford a proper attorney or not, I'm still going to rule by what I see on the table. Why am I going to do that when I know this is an unfair system? That's what the juror is saying. The juror is saying that, listen, we were presented, our orders was to weigh the evidence that's presented to us. That's what this juror is saying. And when the whole thing came out, they're saying, wait a minute, we need to, the people need to know what you presented to us, because they're looking at us like we heard everything. We didn't hear everything. We only heard tidbits, a scaled down, manipulated piece of evidence, and that's what we were forced to go on. So don't blame us. Blame the Attorney General. If he would have presented the case properly, we would have made a better decision. We would have rendered a better judgment, a verdict. That's the point that I'm making out here. Okay, now let's go to the video.
New updates in the Brianna Taylor case. Audio recordings of the grand jury's inquiry have been released. The inquiry last week ended up with indicting just one officer in the raid that ended Miss Taylor's life. Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron, who is a special prosecutor in the case, was made to hand over more than 20 hours of recordings on Friday by order of a judge. This comes after a grand jury filed a court motion asking for the transcripts of the sessions to be made public. This is a small victory for Ms. Taylor's family, who pleaded for access to the tape so they could get an inside look into what went down behind closed doors in the proceedings. So what is in the recordings and what was left out? Joining me now is the civil rights attorney who represents Brianna Taylor's family. I call him the Attorney General of Black America, Attorney Benjamin Crump. Attorney Crump, what was in the tapes? You came out first and strongly demanding the release of the minutes and the tape. Then there was, to everyone's surprise, a motion by a member of the grand jury itself. What have we found out? I do not hear.
Reverend Al?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Okay. Thank you to you and National Action Network and all the other protesters and civil rights groups who joined in demanding transparency for Brianna to know what evidence was presented during the grand jury proceedings. And as we discussed, Reverend Al, and we suspected, Brianna did not have a voice in that grand jury room. The jurors were advocating more for Brianna Taylor than the Kentucky Attorney General, Daniel Cameron, to hold people accountable for her murder. And Reverend Al, you listen to these jurors, when you listen to these transcripts, bringing it up over and over again. But what about the officers that killed Brianna? And they say, well, they were justified in what they did, so you don't need to consider that or deliberate on that. And so it shows us exactly what we suspected. Brianna Taylor did not have anybody fighting for her in that grand jury proceeding.
All right, so now the viewers need to understand, in a grand jury, only the prosecutor can go in the grand jury. There's no lawyers allowed like you for the family. There's no defense lawyer. So in many ways, whatever the prosecutor presents is really all that the grand jurors can vote on, and the evidence he presents or not presents is solely at his discretion. So you're saying to us that even when grand jurors would raise the question about the policeman that shot and killed Brianna, he would say they were operating in self-defense, you don't have to vote on that, rather than putting the evidence in front of them to let them decide that?
Exactly, Reverend Al. He would just deflect the prosecutors from his office would just deflect the jurors away and try to tell them what is important and what's not important. Because you know very well, Reverend Al, a prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich if they wanted to. However, these prosecutors, from what we hear on these proceedings, and I encourage everybody to listen for themselves, they were not trying to prosecute the police officers that killed Brianna Taylor. They were more, I believe, trying to exonerate them or justify this unjustifiable killing of this innocent black woman in her own apartment. They never offered anything, Reverend Al, about the lie that was in the probable cause affidavit, where they said Brianna Taylor was receiving suspicious packages to her apartment per the United States Postal Inspector. And the Postal Inspector came out and said that was not the case. Brianna never received suspicious packages to her apartment. So he didn't even present that, Reverend Al. So
you heard what he said. He said he didn't even present that. Again, this is showing you that it was a tailor-made case that was given to the grand jury, and the grand jury is basically saying, how can we go off of anything else when you're the prosecutor? You're supposed to be advocating for the life that was lost of this sister, and you ain't giving us nothing, so we have no choice but to render the verdict that we get. And it bothered one of the jurors so bad, they said, listen, you know what? Justice need to go down. They need to hear what we heard. That's the reason why it went out. But what's absolutely sickening about this, because you heard Crump say that a prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich.
Right.
Basically, what he's saying is that you can go in there and you can win if you bring it out properly. How in the world that this girl's life is not accounted for when obviously somebody messed up? If you have the sister is dead, the sister is murdered. She was not supposed to be murdered. So how in the world could you justify and say that nobody has to pay for that? That is crazy. That is crazy. And this sick attorney general, he went in there and didn't bring nothing. You heard him. He said that they were trying to say, listen, but what about this? And he kept, what was the word they used? He kept sidestepping it, deflecting. He said deflecting. He kept deflecting from certain questions that the jurors were mentioning. They were advocating more for her than the advocate was. Right. That's crazy. Judas, just like DL was saying. Judas. That's crazy. Somebody was supposed to go to jail. And like I said, the judge signs it, because there's something that y'all have to realize. There's something called due diligence. When you're going to send people, you're going to send a armed force police to somebody's apartment, you want to make sure that you ain't killing innocent people. You want to make sure that you ain't getting the injured innocent people. So you want to cross all of your T's and dot all of your I's. If due diligence would have been done, they would have found out that the man that they were looking for was already in custody. They would have checked to see if her packages. Why they talk about the mail? There was no packages coming to her house. The word around the campfire, so to speak, that she has not dealt with this dude for like 4 years. They have been separated. That's what I'm hearing. I have to fact check that. But she was well past dealing with this guy. And there's another report, I wanted to find it, where the police tried to persuade him to say that Brianna had something to do with drugs, and he wouldn't do it. I'm talking about the man they had locked up. They actually wanted him to give some kind of plea to say, please say that she had something to do with drugs so we can justify this no-knock warrant. A no-knock warrant? Wow. You give a no-knock warrant, because that's basically what it was. They went in there, and on a no-knock warrant, mean they don't have to tell you anything. You could just, boom, just come on in, because the whole idea is to be the surprise element, to get so that they don't have time to flush the dope down the toilet and all that other stuff. That's the purpose of a no-knock warrant. But before you do that, you're supposed to make sure that you ain't busting in to somebody innocent. So when the people are the attorney general, he steered the whole prosecution to putting it on the policemen, when you know that the union for the police is going to bring up the same point. These men were following their orders. You know that. That's how they're going to get off. The only one that they got on was the one that fired the shot outside of that. But like I pointed out last week, they all had that mentality to blow their family away. All of them, because when they move, they all move as one, especially in a situation like that. So they all had it in purpose to kill and do exactly what they meant to do. But this attorney general, he wanted them all to get off. And basically, the one that they did charge, he got something that's like credit card fraud or something that's less than nothing, a misdemeanor. Nothing, basically. So
it's still on the force.
And it's still on the, of course. He just basically got a slap on the wrist. That's basically it. So this is the kind of justice that we get in this society. And we're gonna continue on with this lesson, all right? Y'all got any scriptures? Get any scriptures yet?
Yeah, let me
what you got for me, Captain?
Right here, Dick had already talked about Hosea 5:15, but I want you to get me, Officer Nashawn, get me Deuteronomy 28:65. Because here, Israel, you have to understand that this is what we're trying to show y'all, is that we are not to be comfortable. We're not to be complacent. We was not brought here for us. We built this nation already. It's time for us to build a nation of Israel. That's what Dick was bringing out earlier. And so when we get here, we got to understand this is not our rest. That's what he was talking about. Now judgment is coming. Now we see the unrighteousness that's going on in our community. And when we yet marching, and we yet out there talking, now we're saying voting is the answer. No, following the Most High is the answer. Repenting is the answer. That's what we must do. Read that, Officer Nashawn.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 65. And among these nations shall thou find no ease.
Being here and going through this, who is it going to be next week? What mother's going to be crying next week? What father's going to be on TV next week? We're not going to find the answers here looking for this in this nation. There's no ease. There's no rest here. And so we're looking for them to help us. We're looking for equality. No, Israel, we have to get our minds right. We have to come out from among these nations and be separate, says the Lord. We are a great people. But doing these things and finding ourselves getting caught up in a lot of mischief, there's judgment because there's no justice for us in this land. Read on.
And among these nations shall thou find no ease. Neither should the sole of thy foot have rest.
Even though that look at Dick was talking about earlier. Look at her resume. She was working 3-4 jobs. This sister was putting in work, and she was trying to.
She worked 4 shifts.
Four shifts,
back to back,
working. I mean, just lamenting, working like that. We're not going to find any rest here. Read on.
But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart.
Read.
And failing of eyes. And sorrow of mind.
So understand this, that things are not going to change here. It's not going to change. You be driving down the road, you see a police pull in behind you, now you getting nervous. Now you scared, thinking that they're going to do something to you. And you try to look in the rearview mirror, mess around and dip the car over, you get pulled over, now you scared. There's no rest for us. Read on.
Verse 66, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee.
And we feel that way a lot of times. A lot of us feel like we're in trouble. We do. When the law get us, we get caught up in something like that, we already scared for whatever reason. There's no warrants. I don't have anything like that.
Right.
I don't have no record. But you still afraid. For what reason? For nothing. You ain't done nothing. But yet you feel like you've been accused of something. You know you ain't doing that. Everything is in order. But they bring that's that fear. That's that trembling heart.
It's like when the police get behind me, I know I ain't doing nothing wrong.
Exactly.
But you just get this feeling on you.
A little uncomfortable.
Like, a little uncomfortable. Like you looking at your review. Is he gonna pull me over? Because like you just brought out in the scripture, failing the heart. We don't know what they're gonna do.
Exactly. Just like I was saying last week, we ride in the car. We got to make sure that our phones is fully charged up.
Yes, sir.
We got a good signal because it's just you and him.
Yes, sir.
Why should we even have to have that fear among us? This is letting you know, white folks don't feel that. The people that's the real citizens in this country do not have that same fear like we do. There's a chance that we might get stopped and be put to death.
Yes, sir.
We totally innocent, did nothing wrong. Might have did a little bit of speeding. There was a book that I have also. This book called Two Nations, and it's written by this Edomite. Name is Andrew Hacker. Okay, I had the book many years ago. I just talking about that. But he makes the point that when black people drive, when we driving down the highway, we make sure that we do 55. That's how he put it. We make sure that we do 55, not 56, because we do 55 because we have that fear that's on us, and we live with that fear constantly. He said, but he used himself as an example. He said, I might do 60, and he said, I don't really even think about it. Just think about that. Right. Some people don't even have to think about the stuff that we have to consciously keep on our mind all the time. And when you see the law, so to speak, see them blue lights, just like you said, damn, I hope I don't die. Make sure my phone is on record. Make sure that this is where. Why in the world should we have to live like that? That's letting you know that this is not our rest. That's letting you know straight up. Go ahead. That was it?
Yeah, just finish reading that, Officer Sean 66. Finish reading it.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 66. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life.
And that's how we live, as Dick was talking about. That's how we live. It's unconditional. It's unfindable. You sitting there thinking, hey, will I make it home tonight? I'm coming down the road. I'm just driving home, and I happened to look back the other day, and there was he pulling over beside me, and it kind of startled me a little bit. And I'm just in the car, and I shouldn't be driving like you said.
Exactly.
I shouldn't have to drive like that.
Yeah. That's what you call terrorized, okay? And that's something that we have to recognize, Many of our people, once again, terrorized by being let down by this verdict that came down, because we ain't never going to get no justice in this society. Even when you think you got justice, you ain't got justice. A lot of people don't understand what I mean by that. We ain't never going to get justice. You know what justice is? Give me Revelation. Let me read justice to you. This is the kind of justice black folk got to get in order for us to get justice instead of just us. Revelation 13, 9 to 10. Let's just read that. Let's calibrate the scale of justice.
Revelations chapter 13 and verse 9. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
There's so many layers into that captivity thing. Once we were brought over here, we were robbed of our names, robbed of our language, robbed of our norms, robbed of our families, robbed of culture, everything. We were robbed and then we were left alone, left to just go and just make it for yourselves. After 250, damn near 300 years of hard slave bondage, like the Bible says in Isaiah 14, and we served hard bondage. After all that rape, after castrations, lynchings, burnings, rigged juries, all of those evils that happened to us, we were just, quote unquote, left to go free. All kinds of damage has happened to us. So how do you reconcile all of that? Because captivity brought on all of those things and beyond of what I'm talking about. The very fear of driving on the road, worrying about who's behind you, worrying about getting pulled over, you might die. This and that. Why do we live like that? That's because a system of slavery brought us to where all of these things are possible. Okay, so the justice for that is what we're about to read. Read.
Revelations chapter 13 and verse 10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
That's the justice. They have to serve, they have to suffer what we suffered. They have to get what we got. We lost everything. We are supposed to be crazy. The mere fact that we even have any semblance of sanity to even be able to speak to each other in somebody else's language. This is not even our language. This shows you how thoroughly robbed we are. We got to, in order for true justice to come down, you have to get what we got. And the Bible says, double unto her, double according to her works. That's justice, because this has to be undone. We got no therapy, no nothing. So we're not normal, and we're up there looking for justice in this society of rape and robbery. Wow, amazing, amazing. Give me one more video. How much time we got? 5. Okay. Give me Megyn Kelly. She says something. She was on what's this guy named Ben Shapiro. She was on his program, and I just want you to hear what she said in reference to Brianna Taylor, and I'm gonna mention Jacob Blake also, the brother that was shot in the back when he went into his car after police was called to respond because some kind of disturbance happened where, they had an altercation with him. But listen to this here. Let's play it. Start at 8. You got the time? Okay, let's let it roll. This is Megyn Kelly. Y'all remember her. This is the one that said that Jesus is white when you go back and check it on other records. Okay, go ahead.
As one that Biden's going to have to answer on is all the racial conflict in the cities. And one of the things that we've seen from Biden is that he continues to sort of egg it on. I mean, he's not saying, he said violence is bad, he said looting is bad, but he refuses to condemn by name either Antifa or BLM. And he continues to refer to what's going on as a quote unquote racial reckoning, which is an extraordinary way of putting what we have seen right now, which is legitimately riots, attacks on police officers based on fact patterns that do not justify the ire. I mean, what we're watching in Louisville right now, where 2 police officers were shot last night as we record this, and it's all over a Brianna Taylor case in which there is no legal way to charge those officers with the murder of Brianna Taylor. It just does not exist. They were fired upon by somebody in the apartment. They returned fire. She was in the path of fire. She ends up dying. That's a tragedy. That is not a crime. And the fact that Biden is unwilling to quell those.
So basically what he did the same. Basically, that's what Cameron did. Cameron went into the courtroom with just what he said. Isolated it to the cops, knowing that they were going to go to their rule book. They're going to go to their rule book and say, my orders were to follow as I was directed by the control, by the base, so you can understand. That's what he's saying there, so how could you charge them? But and it leaves everybody else off the hook. They weren't even supposed to be sent into there. Somebody fell asleep at the wheel. That's the point. Negligence happened. Negligence happened because of race. That's the point that I'm bringing up, because they don't do this with white folks. They don't do this with other people. They do this with us. They don't do the due diligence to make sure that we don't end up getting murdered. That's the point. Play it. Oh, no, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I'm going to say something, Deke.
Yeah.
You had said something earlier, Deke, about when they got their man. Because they said they took him in custody earlier. Mm-hmm. Minutes earlier. For all we know, it could have been hours.
Yeah, of course. They say that to make it seem like they didn't have time to fix it up. I don't believe these people. Right. When I go into my next, when I go into this next stuff, you're going to find out corruption in the system.
Right.
I'm going to bring it out.
Right.
I ain't letting this hour go without you black folks, you people online. Right. I say you black folks. I know I got the Israelites watching, but I know some black folk watching too. You're going to find out that this is a corrupt system. You're going to find that out. Go ahead.
But what they supposed to have done was we got our man in custody.
Right.
That's what supposed to have came out.
Exactly.
You don't keep going, not kicking doors in when you got your man in custody.
Right.
What for?
Exactly.
So basically, what it seemed like they were trying to say that she had some involvement.
Right. What they did, they isolated the cops' era away from the era of the people that that issued the warrant. The person that issued the warrant needs to be on the hook.
Right.
The information that came from the report should have came to. That's what you call due diligence. All that. If you're talking about the possibility of killing somebody, it should have been your number one priority to make sure that when we sign this warrant, that it is a legitimate warrant. They didn't do that. That's crazy. And then on top of it, I wish I could find an article where they went to the guy in jail. And tried to get him. Deacon Asaph brought it out on his show a few weeks ago, so that's how I know it exists. They went to the jail. They went to where he was, because they might be to know he wasn't in jail. Right. He was in the He was in the yard or whatever. But they went to him, and they were trying to get him to implicate Brianna Taylor in criminal activity, and he said no. So their case was messed up.
That's right.
Because if he would have, don't lose your point. Because if he would have went along with what they wanted him to do, then they would have said, see, we had justification. But this is now the mailman said there's no packages. Right. So that didn't hold up. Neither did the evil that they wanted the brother that was locked up. He said, no, she's not like that. She's a good person and such and such. He would not do it. I got to commend the brother for that. Even though he was into drugs and all that, I got to commend. He had enough integrity to not lie on that sister. He said, no, you got to find another way to frame. That's the scripture I was looking for. Frame is mischief by law. Psalms 90, 94, and 20.
And it probably tried to cut him a deal.
They did.
Get that time took off.
They did. They did. Asaph had the article up there.
Wicked.
Deep.
All praise to the Most High. Brothers and sisters, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back after these words.
A real God body. More than arm, leg, arm, head. The Holy Spirit reside inside me. A real God body. More than arm, leg, arm, head. The Holy Spirit alive inside me. Yeah. Blow the whistle, I see my visage in these epistles. These other nations deceitful, try to tell us we equal. They had us lighting up candles, with images of Caesar. But now we casting down Santeria and Brujeria. And cause our downfall, we ain't know we above all. I told that to my mom once and she told me, Chacho, muchacho, you going off. Through the Deuteronomy 7 and 6, I drew my sword. Thus saith the Lord. Death before dishonor, when you die, you start to live. You know this word is living water, so I'm diving in. Them 12 stars fell from heaven to the 4 winds. We fell into captivity because of sin. They use vine whips to beat the...
Shalom, this is Bishop Nathaniel. 34 times the Booster Club has been called upon and 34 times they've answered. Join the team today and help send the prophets around the world. 12 tribes worldwide. Shalom.
I can't get enough of this word, call me library. All you do is talk, I tell them read, I be your pallbearer. As long as my hands clean, I'ma teach, I let the laws tear. You rebuck your doctrine, can't believe I even fell for it. Yeah. Bodies dropping, no top models, no need for worries, cause God got us. See, masculinity need to be shown for real. And all of you that's cross-dressing would be dressed to be killed. Apollo Creed, but I'm hitting like I'm Holyfield. You counting sheep, but you the hireling, the type to flee. Just for the meat, when the battle won, they gnash their teeth. I can't believe I even fell for their hypocrisy. Like it or not, it's Kwam Yasharala. Laws attached to the brain, medulla oblongata. We are not the same over here, we walk with giants. 10 toes down where the clay is mixed with iron. I can't get enough of this word, call me library. All you do is talk, I tell them read, I be your pallbearer. As long as my hands clean, I'ma teach, I let the laws tear. You rebuck your doctrine, can't believe I even fell for it.
Some people talk a lot, I just minister. In this race you gotta last just to finish first. I'm in a big league with the top prophets, warming up in the inside like
we used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, from Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are how men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.
Shalom again, Israel. We are back. We are back. We are back. And we're going to pick up with the video that we were talking about with Megyn Kelly. And she was on the Ben Shapiro podcast. And she was making a point that that race had nothing to do with Brianna Taylor, or for that matter, Jacob Blake. Like race had nothing to do with it. And like I said before, the Attorney General brought that slim case to the grand jury, knowing that they could not go outside what he presented. So basically, he gave them a narrow piece of information for them to go on, and they could not go outside of that. That's that's their orders in the jury. So they looking at it. And naturally questions are going to come to their mind. That's the reason why that particular juror, she said, you know what, the transcripts need to come out because we were advocating more for her than the attorney general was, which is a shame. That is an absolute shame. So I understand the exact reason why D.L. Hughley and everybody for that matter is mad at this sellout, what he did. Okay. So now let's go back to the video because we're getting ready to get into it again. Let's get it in.
That Biden's going to have to answer on is all the racial conflict in the cities. And one of the things that we've seen from Biden is that he continues to sort of egg it on. I mean, he's not saying, he said violence is bad, he said looting is bad, but he refuses to condemn by name either Antifa or BLM. And he continues to refer to what's going on as a quote unquote racial reckoning, which is an extraordinary way of putting.
Let me explain what's happening. This Edomite, Ben Shapiro is making a point about the violence that's going on all over the country because of the injustice that happened with the sister Brianna Taylor. That's the point. So they're saying that this quote unquote violence need to stop. That's the argument, and he's saying that the point is that they're protesting because justice was not served. Okay, go ahead, play it.
Way of putting what we have seen right now, which is legitimately riots, attacks on police officers based on fact patterns that do not justify the ire. I mean, what we're watching in Louisville right now, where 2 police officers were shot last night as we record this, and it's all over a Brianna Taylor case in which there is no legal way to charge those officers with the murder of Brianna Taylor. It just does not exist. They were fired upon by somebody in the apartment. They returned fire. She was in the path of fire. She ends up dying. That's a tragedy. That is not a crime. And the fact that Biden is unwilling to.
The reason why it was not a crime was because of the way the attorney general presented the case. If you've only presented the case dealing with the people that showed up there as a direct order from their superiors, that's the reason why they got off. Black people are upset, but in reality, you really can't nail them because they're following orders. And that's what the attorney general went in there with, knowing damn well that there's many parts of when a warrant is signed for you to go in there. What about, like I said before, what about the judge? What about the fact that they already had the man already in custody, which we're going to show you in a little bit. I was talking about, and I said that they tried to get a plea deal. I got the article. I'm going to show it to you in a little bit. But let's play on because I'm showing you again that this system is not our rest. We read that earlier in Micah 2 and 10. This is not our rest because the scriptures say that it will pollute us because this is not our rest. That's the reason why the scriptures once again said, "Come out from among them, you that are not desired." I'm just bringing the scriptures together. "O nation not desired, you are the people of the Lord. Come back to the Most High so he can destroy our enemies." Because that's what the remedy is. Our enemies have to be destroyed and put in slavery. That's what God and Christ is talking about. Okay? Play on.
All those waters a little bit. I mean, that's pretty radical stuff from him, it seems.
They're never going to. In the same way BLM has corporate America hostage, it certainly has the Democratic Party hostage. And the thing that bothers me about it, Ben, as a lawyer, which I know you are as well, although I went to Albany Law School, not Harvard, it isn't factual. It's not factual. It is factual that there is racism inside the United States. And we need to, on a case-by-case basis, look hard to see whether we believe this is one of them. I'll take
now, hold it now, because she couldn't get away with saying that America is not a racist country. But she's saying, but in this case, racism had nothing to do with it. I'm going to show you that that's a complete lie. Go ahead.
That there is racism inside the United States. And we need to, on a case-by-case basis, look hard to see whether we believe this is one of them. I'll take the Central Park lady and the bird watcher, right? I would have been fine with that situation if she hadn't mentioned that she was going to tell the police he was black, right? That was a racist thing to do and say, and she's paid a price for it. But you have to look at situations one by one. And the problem that's happening now with this, hate the police movement is that they refuse to do that. They refuse to look at the Jacob Blake situation and, recognize that the evidence appears to be that the man was armed. He definitely had a scuffle with police. He got tased. He kept fighting. He had a cop in a headlock.
Let's pause it for a second. In the case with Jacob Blake, they had a chance on many occasions to take him down before he went to the vehicle. They could have did that, but they waited for him to reach inside. They said, now we have a justifiable reason to shoot him because now we can say that he was reaching for a weapon. But they didn't have. But before he got to the door, while he was in front of the car, they could have dealt with him then. And I mean, we don't know the ins and outs of it, but I'm just saying in terms of that, why are you going to wait till he get into a situation, get into a position where you can say he was going for a knife, therefore we have reasons to shoot him? We need justification. We need justification. I'm going to mention something. I ain't going to mention a name because I know the cop, the person's still alive. But I used to work with police. And I remember in New York, NYPD, before they got the Glock, they had 38s. And I remember the day when they got when it was passed for them to get the 9mm. And I remember the cop. We there. We working together. And he says, "I can't wait to use this."
Wow.
Yeah. Because that 38, the revolver, they said this ain't, but I can't wait to bust my guns. He said he didn't use that. That's the term that they use now. He said, "I can't wait to use this thing." I'm gonna leave it at that. Okay. I never forgot that.
So he ain't talking about just shooting in the
No,
air.
I don't know. I ain't gonna say what he meant, but the fact that he said that, I can't wait to use it. I'm gonna leave it there. But go ahead. Where we at? I guess I shouldn't have said that, but that's what happened. Had to get it out. I talk too much, right? Somebody might say.
You good, dude.
Go ahead.
A headlock. I mean, I could go on. It's a problem. Most of us don't have really negative interactions with the cops that turn potentially deadly because if we ever get pulled over, we submit. And that's what most men do, because most men are the ones having the interactions with cops, white and black. Brianna Taylor is a tragedy. It is awful. And the AG down there was right and very eloquent in speaking about it. But
so she's giving credit to the Attorney General. That's what she's saying. She's saying that Cameron did his job. He pleased white folks. Black people mad as hell all over the place. They mad because they know even the juror that sat on the daggone thing says something ain't right with this. The whole transcripts need to be released. So what is this woman talking about? Go ahead.
The AG down there was right and very eloquent in speaking about it. But what was the cop supposed to do when he took a bullet in the femoral artery? I mean, really, what was he supposed to do? What would you do? And even in the Jacob Blake situation, the cop fired when Jacob Blake allegedly pulled a knife and people were yelling. They heard the cops yelling, "Drop the knife." And he didn't, right? So in that situation, if you're allowed to fire the first bullet, Ben, you're allowed to fire 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The only legal test is whether the officer had a reasonable fear of dying or great bodily injury.
Stop. Is that it? Did we get to the part? That was about it? Okay, play it on. But she said about the fear. I wanted to deal with that part with the fear. She said that you have to understand that if the cops felt like they have and that's true. They say that in all levels of law enforcement. If you feel that your life is in danger, you have the right to use deadly force. If it's force that's presenting to you the possibility of dying. The same thing just goes with just assault. I mean, with even in the security field, you are allowed to use what they call reasonable force to quell the situation, to stop the advance of an assault coming towards you. You are allowed. It's when you go beyond that is when they say you're in trouble. So as long as you can justify the force that's being applied to protect you from a force that's coming to your detriment, they're saying that you're legal. So that's what she's saying. If the cops felt that they were in fear of their lives, they have the right to use deadly force. The point that I want to bring to that is that race has everything to do with it, because black men scare white people. Okay, whenever black men are stopped, automatically he's a gorilla. Like Rodney King, he's a beast. He's uncontrollable. White man walking through the park with a weapon pointing it at everybody, but their lives were not in danger because the press made him the press makes the black man a suspect. The press and the media and the imagery of black people make them suspect, make them all of a sudden terribly afraid. So race does have plenty to do with it. This is ridiculous.
It does, Dick, because even when you showed the video last week, you showed the young man, they said it had like 3 of them giving them charges. Come away from the car. They was hollering at him. So turn around, lift up your shirt, lift up your leg. They just make you do everything. They don't rest the white people like that. They don't make them turn around.
No, they don't do that at all.
Feet and put their hand on their nose and stuff like that. Walk up, walk back. You go through too doggone much. That's not even true. What she said that all the rest, all it happened to me and all the same.
No. That was exactly. Racism had everything to do with that. Talking about the brother Ramos. I think that's what his name was. What was his name? The brother that we showed last week that they shot up. That is the case, because with all of them shouting different things, the man is scared. He said, I'm trying to obey everybody's command at once. And if I mess up on one of them, I'm going to get shot. That's already in his mind. That's already in his mind. White folks don't go through that.
With guns pointed
With guns pointed at them. Just like those kids. I remember they did a raid in his family's house, again, the wrong house, and had guns pointed to the children's head. I remember that. And the kids was crying and all of that. Same thing. So race has everything to do with it. This woman's crazy as hell. Go ahead. Is that it? One more minute? Play it.
To that has been decided to be yes, he can shoot to kill. The cops, they don't shoot to maim. It may not be nice, you may not like it, but the law affords these officers a lot of leeway because it understands they're in life and death situations where they have to make split-second decisions, and it's really tough to armchair quarterback it. And by the way, they're doing it based on something we don't even know is relevant, which is race. Where's the proof that race had anything to do with Jacob Blake, anything to do with Brianna Taylor, and even to do with George Floyd, which is a special case because the brutality was so awful and really indefensible. But where has it been proven that race?
What does race
involved?
have to do with George Floyd? What does race have to do with Breonna Taylor? What does race have to do with Jacob Blake? Do you see what kind of society we're in? The Most High is showing us that we have to come together and keep the commandments of the Most High. That's the reason why all of this is happening. Now I'm going to go further to show you just how much evil that we are going to continue to face, and it has not stopped. It has not stopped. Give me my next video to show you about the corruption, okay? Because the only justice that we're going to get is the Most High's word, not that. Not that. I don't want that yet. As a matter of fact, I'm going to leave that alone. I don't even need that now. Give me the one that I just is go all the way to the bottom. Go all the way to the bottom. It's the last thing that we sent you. Click that. Okay. Now, so the question is, what did race have to do with it? Watch this. It said race had nothing to do with Breonna Taylor, right? Watch this. Breonna Taylor's ex, meaning the man that's in jail. I want y'all to understand what we're reading. Breonna Taylor's ex was offered a plea deal that she... Come on, read it. I got this thing in my
Breonna Taylor's ex was offered a plea deal that said she was part of a crime syndicate, family's attorney says.
Read that again.
Breonna Taylor's ex was offered
That's the man that they had in jail. So they said that Breonna Taylor's ex was offered a plea deal. A plea deal. We're going to talk about plea deals in the next part of this lesson as we go on. Was offered a plea deal. You know what a plea deal is? You're getting 25 to life. But if you say this here, you could be out in 3 to 5. So most people are going to opt to take the lesser time because they're locked up. They want to get out. So they say, well, we will let you out if you can implicate her as being part of a crime syndicate. Why did they say that? Because they wanted to justify them doing what they did and murdered her. That's some serious evil right there. Read it again. Then we're going to get into the article. Okay, so this is from the Washington Post, okay? Breonna Taylor's ex was offered a plea deal that said she was part of a crime syndicate, quote unquote, family's attorney said. Okay, so Officer Eliakim, you're going to read what's written up under there. Let the people know what we're talking about is the facts. This is from the Washington Post, brothers and sisters. Come on.
File. Protesters participate in the Good Trouble Tuesday march for Breonna Taylor. On Tuesday, August 25th, 2020, in Louisville, Kentucky, a lawyer for Brianna Taylor's family said a plea deal was offered to an accused drug trafficker that would have forced him to implicate Taylor.
Stop. They offered him a plea. Hold it. Read that thing again.
Protesters participated in a Good Trouble Tuesday march for Brianna Taylor.
Okay, where we at? Protesters.
Next sentence. A lawyer for Brianna Taylor's family said a plea deal was offered to an accused drug trafficker.
It was offered by who? They ain't saying it here, but it was offered by the authorities. That's the point. It wasn't just offered by whim. It wasn't just offered by Shazam. No, the authorities. The system, so you can understand. White folks. Read it again.
A lawyer for Brianna Taylor's family said a plea deal was offered to an accused drug trafficker that would have forced him to implicate Taylor.
That would have forced him. So in other words, we know that she ain't involved in it, but we're going to lure you into implicating her with a chance of some freedom. Wow. Go ahead.
Who was killed by police in a raid on her home in March. Louisville's top prosecutor acknowledged the existence of the document, but said it was part of preliminary plea negotiations with a man charged with illegal drug trafficking and not an attempt to smear Taylor.
That's BS. Read that statement again. I need to break that down. Louisville's what?
Louisville's top prosecutor acknowledged the existence of the document.
So he said he acknowledged the existence of the document, in other words, to frame Miss Taylor. Go ahead.
But said it was part of preliminary plea negotiations with a man charged with illegal drug
trafficking. That's got nothing to do with negotiations. That is straight out wrong and wicked. That is not what you call good police work. That's what you call lies and defamation and smearing. That should be part of no kind of investigation at all. That's just wicked as hell. Go ahead. Talking about something that's part of what we do. No. You might be right. That is part of what you do. Go ahead.
And not an attempt to smear Taylor.
And they say, so we do this, but our objective is to not smear her. It is set up to smear her because you need to smear her in order to justify her murder. So don't tell me that lie. Don't tell us that. Read the article.
For months, as Brianna Taylor has risen to nationwide prominence as a symbol of racial injustice and police impunity.
Impunity means going without punishment. That's what's happened. These people kill us and get off. Go ahead.
Her name uttered by crowds of demonstrators and top politicians. Her face appearing on banners, basketball jerseys, and magazine covers. Louisville prosecutors have continued to prosecute her ex-boyfriend, whose suspected drug trafficking led police to raid her apartment and fatally shoot her.
Go ahead.
Taylor's family and lawyers have insisted she had nothing to do with Jamarcus Glover's alleged crimes.
So, because she was an EMT. She's working in the hospital. If you was connected in crimes like this, you can't even get those kinds of jobs. Go ahead.
With little evidence against her and no previous criminal record.
She had no previous criminal record, but now she's shot to death. And everybody get off clean. Go ahead.
They say she was only pulled into the case through her ties to Glover.
What ties? Because she was separated from him. She was already in the relationship with the man that was in there trying to protect her. There was no ties. That was over with. They weren't married, and she had broken off from him. And so go ahead. What you gonna say? Look like you ought to get in there.
I'm saying, how the hell she got ties to him with another man in the house?
Exactly.
In the bed with her.
Exactly.
There's no affiliation with the two.
That's what they call this. That's what they call sullying and just try to destroy the person's character. And and they went to the doggone man that said, listen. They went to the ex-boyfriend and said, listen, we need some dirt because she's too clean. And you telling me race had nothing to do with this?
Had a lot
the
to do
Bible says never trust your enemies. Go ahead.
Ties to Glover, whom she had cut off before her killing. Yet in July, Louisville prosecutors offered Glover a plea
So she was
bargain.
not dealing with this guy at all. Go ahead. Yet in July, what?
Louisville prosecutors offered Glover a plea bargain. One that could turn a possible 10-year prison sentence into a probation.
Wow. Damn. Now, most wicked people would go for this. You got 10 years and you can just get out on probation. That would make you, boy, listen, they offered him a cake with the candles. They offered him the whole thing. They said, listen, you can walk out of here. I can imagine how they came to him. You can walk out of here clean. Just give us some dirt that we can say that she deserved to get these bullets. And you telling me race had nothing to do with it? This girl was completely innocent. Completely innocent. 100% innocent. But race had nothing to do with it. This is for you so-called Negroes. You black folk that still think that this is your rest. The Most High said, come out from among them because it's going to kill us. We cannot continue to walk around in this system and thinking that this is our system. The Most High said this is not our rest. I know a lot of people don't like that. Yeah, we got to do what we got to do. Got to go to the jobs and all. We got to do all of those things. Y'all hear me say that all the time. Obey the powers that be and all. We do all of that. But don't get it twisted. This is not our kingdom. This is not our rest. And we need to be coming together and keeping the laws of God so the Most High can deliver us out of here and destroy our enemies at the same time. Go ahead. Is there more?
One that could turn a possible 10-year prison sentence
Read the whole
into
thing again. Yet in July,
Louisville prosecutors offered Glover a plea bargain.
Louisville prosecutors. That's what we were talking about earlier. Who came to him? Prosecutors. Wow. Prosecutors came to him and they threatened him. You don't want to follow? We're going to do these years. You ain't going to be able to see your kids. Your kids going to be grown. They tell you all that stuff to get you to bend and lie. Go ahead.
Prosecutors offered Glover a plea bargain, one that could turn a possible 10-year prison sentence into a probation.
No jail time at all.
That said Taylor had participated in his organized crime syndicate, according to records first reported by WDRB television on Monday.
So that's what they were trying to do. They wanted him to implicate her into his crime syndicacy. Is there more? Read.
Glover's attorney, Scott Barton, told the Washington Post that prosecutors were fine providing an alternate version that did not name Taylor. They did not suggest that mentioning Taylor would lead to a better deal, he said. But Glover told the Louisville Courier-Journal in a Monday night interview that officials wanted him to falsely impugn Taylor and Sam Aguiar, and Louisville attorney representing Taylor's family in a wrongful death lawsuit, slammed the offer, calling it part of a smear campaign.
That's exactly what it was, a smear campaign to justify the murder of this innocent sister. Now, the worst thing about this could happen to any of us. This could happen to anybody. That woman went home tired after working all of those shifts and went to sleep. And the next thing you know, bullets are going into her body. What make you think that can't happen to the rest of us?
You know, a while ago, we pointed out that girl that was on the show on that podcast, that lady, what was her name that was on that podcast? She said it's not about race.
Megan.
Yeah, Megan Kelly.
Megan herself. This right here just kind of just lets us all know that it's racism is in the courthouse, it's in the judges, it's in the police department, it's on all levels. That's where the racism is embedded. So you just can't just sit there and come out there and say, no, we just have to isolate. No, these are not isolated incidents. This is racism on a lot of levels, from the judges down to the police department, down to, I'm telling you, that's what this is.
And that's the point that I've been making. A lot of times you might hear us say, everybody's blaming the cops. Everybody's blaming the police and the cops. Yes, a lot of them are wicked as hell. I'm not talking about that. But I'm just saying in general, you got to understand that the cops' job is law enforcement. They are to enforce the laws that's in the books. So your issue is not just with them. The whole damn system is corrupt. That's the point. That's the point. But the attorney general went in there and let the whole system off and said, let's try to prosecute them, knowing damn well it's not going to stick because they were operating up underneath the orders of their superiors. Okay? That goes even further. That same, I shouldn't mention this because it's totally different from this in terms of the actual events. But when they had what is known as the Nuremberg trials, when they brought the people in Germany, when they were asking them, why did you participate in the quote-unquote Holocaust against the so-called Jews? And their answer was, we were following orders. Okay, I just throw that in there. So they know how corrupt they are. So Cameron knew that, and he knew that they would get off clean. How in the world you gonna prosecute them when these guys way back in the 40s and 45 during that, what was it? 45 when they were doing all that stuff. And they let them go. So how they not gonna let these people go? And these white folks, they do research like that. They study cases like that. So Cameron knew what he was doing when he went there. But the juror said, no, this stinks. No, you need to bring the rest of this information out because you did not present all of the information that would have dealt with the rest of the system that got this woman killed. Somebody's responsible for her death. That's the point. Go ahead.
Aguiar said the offer shows local officials are desperate to justify Taylor's killing.
Wow. Damn. Go ahead.
Shame on that office.
Shame on that office. Shame on the American system. Shame on the judge. Shame on the dispatcher. Shame on the people that was handling the paperwork. Shame on all of them. Not just the cops. Shame on them. They're the ones that really should have been locked up. They're the ones that should have been locked up because they had the information. Go ahead.
Aguiar wrote on Facebook, "She's dead. Way to try and attack a woman when she's not even here to defend herself."
Because they don't give a damn about us anyway. Go ahead. Is that it? There's more. There's a lot more to this. I think we read enough, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we read enough. The rest of y'all can read this article on your own. I'm going to go to something else now. So we already recognize that there's definitely some wickedness in this system. Give me that scripture. Psalms 94 and 20. The Most High told us, come out from among them.
The book of Psalms, chapter 94 and verse 20.
Read.
Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee?
What do they have all these churches in this country for? Making you think that this is a just society. They got churches, synagogues, and all types of places talking about this is a nation under God. God where? What kind of God are you talking about? Read it again.
Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee?
Shall the kingdom of sin, that's what iniquity is, shall the kingdom of sin have fellowship with the Most High? Go ahead.
Which frameth mischief by a law?
What do? They frame mischief by wicked policies. In other words, they justify criminality. They justify criminality. They have the power to legitimize their criminality with their laws. That's what that book that I was talking about earlier, the black on black violence, that's what that brother goes into when he talks about that. But read that again.
Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief
Shall
by
the
a
throne
law?
of iniquity have fellowship with the Israelites? That's the point that it's making. Go ahead. Which do what?
Which frameth mischief by a law?
Which frameth mischief. In other words, make evil look good with their so-called laws. And then they're going to justify the murder of Brianna Taylor, and they would have kept this hidden. The grand jury, they probably knew about stuff like this, but they couldn't say it because it was never presented. That's why they're asking the questions. That was it, right?
The next verse, Deacon.
Go ahead.
They gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous.
Wow. They gather themselves against the Israelites. Go ahead.
And condemn the innocent blood.
And condemn Brianna Taylor. Condemn, try to smear her name. Mm-hmm. Smear the name of Israel. Smear the name of Botham Jean. Smear the name of Ahmaud Arbery. Smear the name of Tamir Rice. Smear the name of Trayvon Martin. Smear the name of Mike Brown. Smear the name of the brother that got killed. What was it with the Lucy's? That got choked to death. Eric Gardner. Smear the name of Sandra Bland. Smear the name of Philando Castillo.
Innocent blood.
Innocent blood.
What was the one that had his hands up? Was it Mike Brown or something? One of them had his hand up.
The brother we just showed, the brother they kept telling around the car.
That's him.
What was his name again?
No, Ramos. I think it was Ramos. I think it was Ramos. Was it Ramos? That was his name?
Yeah. Okay.
Ramos? Okay.
It just as Dick said, that's just innocent blood, the killing of our people. That's why it's so vital, Dick, that we have to come out and be ye separate. That's what you were saying earlier when you started. And you was letting us know that a separation means that you have to come together as yourself. They gathering themselves against us. We need to gather ourselves unto ourselves. We need to come together as one nation. It says that they're gathering themselves against us. Against what? The souls of the righteous. They're coming against us. Why? Because we're keeping God's laws. We're teaching our people to redeem themselves. We're teaching our people to come together in the understanding that we're to keep the commandments of the Most High. We're doing that. And even they coming against us. Read verse 21 again.
Verse 21.
Mhm.
They gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous.
In their courthouses, these are their laws. Yes. Those laws are not for us. Those laws are against us. And that's what we see when we look for justice in these courthouses. There's no justice for our people. And, just the mere fact that you go and they sitting there asking our people to carry on through voting. And a lot of our people, it's alleged that there's they said that the people that's registered to vote, right? They said that they're going to put everybody on blast that's not registered to vote. They say, we're gonna know who you are. Talking about Jake, saying that in Israel, we want to know who y'all are that's not voting. Now, that's alleged that they're putting that out there. Now, I don't know if they can be able to do that or not. I don't know. It's just, but that's what they was trying to say, that they're going to get on people. In other words, like, why you're not voting.
Right.
Yeah, his name was Michael Ramos. I want to make sure I got his
Ramos?
Michael Ramos.
So
Go ahead.
We'll continue the lesson and what Dick is bringing out, even for us, it is time for us to wake up. It is time for us to come out from under these people. It is time, Israel. It's high time. Give me that in Romans 13. Let's go there then.
Romans chapter 13 and verse 11. And that knowing the time that now it is high time.
So even us seeing all the injustices, this is the gathering of our people. This is time for us to come in, not through voting, but through repenting. That's what we want. This is what we have to understand.
Right.
We're not going to get no help through voting. That's not the answer of our people. That's not it, but it is a changing. It's us coming together and becoming the nation that we are. That's the nation of Israel. We have to come there because there's not going to be no rest for your soul here. I'm telling you. So read on.
In that, knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep.
And that's what we need to do. Come back and come get this understanding. Come know your history. Come learn of our fathers, and let's get ourselves together because that's what we need to do. Read on.
For now is our salvation nearer than when we believed.
This is it. Look at the hour that we're in. Look at it, the days us are wanting. We're between a place where we always crying and asking Most High, how long and when you going to do it, Lord? This is it. This is the time for our people to come together and be renewed in our right mind as the people that God has called. And I'm telling you, this is high time that we wake up.
Now we're going to go into our book. I want to go into black on black violence just for a second because this is a racist society. Let's put that book up there. I want to just read. I should bring this afterwards. I should bring this second. Let me read. Let me get the Black Robes and White Justice. Let me go. Let me come back to this here. Let's get that. Black Robes and White Justice. That book right there. Okay. Why our justice, and this is the brother. Actually, this brother is a judge. Why our justice system doesn't work for blacks. Okay. That's what this judge wrote. This man's a judge. Okay. Black Robes and White Justice. Okay. Just us. By Bruce Wright. This is the judge that writes this book, okay? Now, let's go inside the book. Officer Eliakim, you're going to give it to him.
Yes, sir. Page 6. A wave of right-wing sentiment has descended on America. One of its byproducts is the feeling that blacks have too much, that they are the beneficiaries of preferences to the detriment of whites.
The media made the whole world look at us as if we're getting too much. That's how they do. You just took my jobs from me. You black people, you're always just constantly asking and asking. We were made slaves. You stole everything from us. The hell are you talking about? Go ahead.
That black quotas mean that whites will be discharged so blacks can take their places. That appears to be the national mood. But what about the justice system? Has it changed since the book was originally published? Priorly, in 1983, Mr. Justice Thomas Agresta, sitting in the Queens branch of New York Supreme Court, chastised a black defendant and accused him of having an accomplice, saying that there was another nigger in the woodpile. More recently, Larry Davis, a young black...
That's the part I want to get to right there. The Larry Davis, that paragraph right there. Read that.
More recently, Larry Davis, a young black accused of attempted murder by shooting at and wounding some white police officers, was acquitted in the Bronx. Hailed as a miraculous piece of justice by minorities, the police and district attorneys saw it as an example of the impossibility of convening an objective and impartial jury in the Bronx.
Go ahead.
Where so many jurors are black and Hispanic.
So basically they're saying that, listen, we're not going to be able to get the proper justice because they got real peers there. So we got to take it out of that city so that these policemen could get the real justice. Just like they did in the Rodney King situation, where they took the case out of where it happened at and moved it into Simi Valley, where all the white folks was. And that's the reason why they did what? Acquit all the cops. That's what they wanted to do here. Read that again. Hailed as
a miraculous piece of justice by minorities.
Meaning because he got off. Larry Davis got off. That was the point. Larry Davis got off. We're going to read about it. Go ahead.
The police.
A lot of people might not know about who Larry Davis is, but we're going to talk about it to show you the evil and the corruption in this system. We just read some recent corruption, but the corruption goes all the way back to this time point here. I was in New York when this went down. Go ahead.
The police and district attorneys saw it as an example of the impossibility of convening an objective and impartial jury in the Bronx.
So, in other words, the white cops ain't going to be able to get a proper justice. That's what they're saying. Go ahead.
Where so many jurors are black and Hispanic.
Read.
One consequence of the Davis acquittal was that the white police officer charged with the killing of Miss Eleanor Bumpers.
That was another woman that was killed. There was an elderly lady, I believe she was. I remember the situation, and they busted into her house and killed her. Go ahead.
In the Bronx, waived trial by jury and elected to be tried before a judge. That strategy was...
So they didn't. So how did they get past that? They said, we're going to remove the jury out completely and just have it just like what we just saw with Brianna Taylor. That's what they say, so that we can rule and say that the cops killed properly. In other words, we ain't going to have no jury. Go ahead.
That strategy was vindicated when the judge acquitted the officer.
Boom. Because there was no jury there. That's the only way they can get justice. What's the justice of their peers? What? Come on. I guess the cops' peers was the judge. Go ahead.
So things do change in terms of strategic ploys, thus coming full circle to an original point in this book, that too many white judges have no understanding of racism or its influence on their thinking and their conduct.
That is true, but they do understand. They know they hate black people. But the point that the author is making in the book is that you cannot judge black folk. You can't, because you're not looking at all of you're not looking at the system that made us be and act the way we're acting. That's the point. You have us in a cage like animals. And then when we attack each other, you come in and wipe us out and basically say they deserved it. But meanwhile, you produced the elements that bring these issues out of us. You manufacture crime. You manufacture black on black crime and criminality. And then you can wipe your hands clean and say, look at what they're doing. Go ahead.
I continued to cling to the notion that it would be enlightening for whites to learn at least some black history and a few of the secrets about black existence, endurance, and survival in that political Garden of Eden known as America the Beautiful.
They already know about black existence. They created it. But they're acting like they need to go to some kind of class. They already know about what's going on with us. They know this already. Go ahead.
That it is not to be construed as a tolerance for black crime.
In other words, we're not making an excuse for black criminality in the real sense. Just like we don't condone it in here. We don't condone criminals. We don't condone us robbing each other, raping each other, getting our women pregnant and not taking care of them, and fornication and all that. We don't condone those things. So we're not by us bringing out the fact that this is a wicked system, we're not justifying criminality and evil and wickedness among ourselves. Go ahead. Is that it?
I have never encouraged brutality or criminal conduct, My thesis calls for an even-handed justice and application of the law, but I'm afraid a double standard continues to be the rule.
Because that's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to remain a double standard. Now, let's talk about Larry Davis. Let's talk about Larry Davis. Put the Larry Davis article up there on the screen. Put the Larry Davis up there on the screen.
Larry Davis, or since 1989, Adam Abdul Hakim.
Right, he changed his name when he was in prison. Go ahead.
Was an American man convicted in 1991 of a drug dealer's 1986 murder, yet known for his 1986 shootout in the Bronx with police, hitting 6 officers, asserting self-defense, and 1988 acquittal of a butt gun charge.
Of all but gun charges.
Of all but gun charges.
He was acquitted of everything except him having an illegal weapon. So they had to let him go. With all he was acquitted of murder. Read it again.
Yet known for his 1986.
Larry Davis is known for that famous shootout that happened up there. Go ahead.
Shootout in the Bronx with police, hitting 6 officers.
He hit 6 officers. Go ahead.
Asserting self-defense.
He said that he was defending himself. We're going to find out that's what he was doing. Go ahead.
And 1988 acquittal of all but gun charges.
All but gun charges. He was acquitted of all the charges. The only charge that stuck was gun charges, meaning you can't own a pistol in New York City. Okay? That law is still there. Go ahead.
In 2008.
Illegally. I'll put it that way. Illegally. Go ahead.
In 2008, he died via stabbing by a fellow inmate.
I don't even want to go into that because they got connections. The police work with the COs, move them out the way, have somebody go in there and take them out. They do that. Okay? Read.
On November 19th, in 1986, 9 New York City police officers, with nearly 20 outside the building, raided the Bronx apartment of Davis's sister. In the ensuing shootout, Davis Black, age 20,
he was 20 years old,
escaped basically uninjured.
He got out of a hail of bullets, basically. That's what they're saying, on a shootout. Go ahead.
While all 6 shot officers survived, police explained the raid as an attempt to question Davis as a multiple murder suspect. Finally obtained an arrest warrant for that.
So they said that we want to question Mr. Davis in his multiple murder as a multiple murder suspect. So they said we need a warrant to go and deal with him because of the multiple murders that he committed. Go ahead.
And re-explained the raid as an attempt to arrest him.
So they said that we wanted to arrest him. They said they wanted to arrest him. BS. Read.
On a massive manhunt's 17th day, he was traced to a Bronx building and hid in an unknown family's unit. Telephoned by the police, he claimed to hold its occupants hostage.
Mm-hmm.
After night-long negotiations, convinced by media presence that police would not shoot, he surrendered peacefully.
They didn't want him to surrender police. They did not want him to surrender peacefully because he gonna talk. Go ahead.
David's legal defense.
Lift it up, brothers.
Led by William.
Hold it. I want you to read this part. This is the part here. Read that.
David's legal defense, led by William Kunstler.
Stop. Anybody heard that name before? William Kunstler is a famous, good-ass lawyer. When you in trouble, you want him. So-called Jew, but you want him. This dude click his name. Click his name. Look at some of the. Let me see if that's him. I think he's dead now. Look at some of the people. Hold it, you're moving too fast. It's up in the top parts of it. It's got to be because it'll tell you about who he defended. Let's see. I don't see it here, but
it's in the second paragraph.
Okay, read it for me, please. I can't even them words.
It says, you see the second paragraph?
Yes, sir.
Read that.
Kunstler's defense of the Chicago 7 from 1969 to 1970 led the New York Times to label him the country's most controversial and perhaps its best-known lawyer.
Listen, is there more?
Kunstler is also well known for defending members of the Revolutionary Communist Party, Catonsville 9, Black Panther Party.
Hold it. He defended the Black Panther Party. Go ahead.
Weather Underground Organization.
Look at the next one.
The Attica prison rioters.
Prison rioters. Y'all have seen that. Attica. He was there to advocate for the prisoners because of the conditions in Attica were horrible. He was on that. Let's go back to the Larry Davis thing.
Davis's legal defense, led by William Kunstler, explained the raid as a pretense to murder Davis for knowledge of officers' alleged complicity in illicit drug sales and to punish him for abandoning his own drug dealer under them.
What y'all want to say about that?
That goes into, like you said.
They went to execute him. They went to silence him, kill the witness.
He knew about him.
And he won because of that. Read.
In March 1988, on
y'all
jury
gonna
trial,
say something. I know I perked y'all up. What y'all gonna say?
That just goes to show the system is corrupt. That's what you're talking
That's
about,
the
D.
point right there.
It's not our rest.
That's it. That's what I'm saying. So when the scriptures say come out of her, my people, this is what you got to come away from. Because you cannot put your trust in this system. The Most High don't want you to put your trust in it. Go ahead. Read.
In March 1988, on jury trial for a killing of 4 drug dealers, allegedly the 1986 raid reason, Davis was acquitted. Then in November, as to the 9 raiding and 6 shot officers, his acquittal of aggravated assault and attempted murder triggered widespread outrage. About 1,000 New York City police officers publicly demonstrated.
They had damn near a riot because he got off. Go ahead.
Yet, for many others, Davis became a folk hero. Still, others thought him an unsavory character, but probably truthful about the police and the shootout.
Meaning the truth about what really happened. Okay. Let's see. Read.
Serving 5 to 15 years on the November 1988 convictions for illegal gun possession, Davis was acquitted of another alleged drug dealer's murder. But in a third murder trial about another alleged drug dealer, Davis was convicted and sentenced to 25 years to life. Converting to Islam, he changed his name. Maintaining his innocence, he continued to allege that the police had framed him.
So basically, let me tell you what's going on without reading too much. Drugs in New York City cannot really get sold without the authorities being involved in it. Okay? When I was living, I used to see these little crack vials all over the streets. When the guy came up, when it was crack, they got them little red top, blue top, gold top, all that stuff. I used to see them little things on the ground. I said, where the hell these little things come from? And they don't manufacture them things in Harlem. There's some connections in there. You just going after the little drug dealer. But he is the small part of a big system. The people that bring the dope in, that grow it, that ship it, that have all kinds of connections and all of that. All those people are involved in it, and the police, I'm trying not to say that, but that's what it is. The police have to be involved in it to make sure that it go down. That's what this case was saying here. The police had him doing it, and when he was saying, I wanted to get out of it, they said no. They were saying no. They don't want him to get out of it. And they said, because you're going to tell on us. If y'all want to just, so you can understand, because somebody might be saying, damn, you ain't right with what you're saying. There's a film on Netflix called The 7-5. The 75th precinct in Brooklyn, in New York. The 75th precinct. It was a whole bunch of cops that was busted for drugs, for dope peddling, traffic, all that. And that was around the same time that we reading here. So don't tell me that. And Suffolk County cops had to bust them, by the way. New York City didn't. A whole outside police force had to come and arrest these NYPD officers. That's how corrupt it was.
I got to be honest about it. Just, when you have something like that, there's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of corruption out there. It is. And that's what we're talking about, for our people to come out from under this understanding. And the thing that we have to understand, get our minds right in Israel, and because I'm telling you that we know that the time is drawing nigh. It really is. The time is drawing nigh. You said earlier, Dick, that it's time for us to wake up. It's vital that we wake up, that we come to the place where we understand that we're separating ourselves. We cannot sin. Give me that Isaiah 59:1.
Mm-hmm.
Give me that in Isaiah 59:1.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 59 and verse 1. Behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened that it cannot save.
That's what we have to understand, that there's deliverance for us here. And as we walk in righteousness, as we begin to repent, the Most High can save and deliver Israel from the oppression that we're up under, and that we can make it through this. We made it through much. Jim Crow laws, name it, just continue on, the things that we've been through. Now here's our time that we can see our way out. This is what I'm talking about, that we understand now that as our gathering to come together, this is going to be the answer as we keep these commandments. Read on.
Neither his ear heavy that it cannot hear.
That's right. We the Israelites, we're the ones can send up prayers before the Most High. That's why we look toward the hills from which comes our help. Our help coming from the Most High. Read.
But your iniquities have separated between you and your God.
That's what gets us in trouble, that we have to come out from under this world. We have to come out from under this sin. That's why we don't want to receive of the plagues of the judgment that's coming this way. There is judgment on this place, Israel, so it's vital that we come out, that we repent while we do have a chance, that the Lord's ear is not heavy that he cannot hear us, but we must come back in the place where we are and reform ourselves, bethink ourselves now. Read on.
And your sins have hid his face from you.
That's what gets us in trouble. That's what separates us from the Most High. It's the transgression of these laws. That's why we're teaching our people that they must repent. Read.
That he will not hear.
Read on.
For your hands are defiled with blood, and your fingers with iniquity. Your lips have spoken lies.
That's it. That's the point, that we need to make sure that we understand that we must come out. And that's the thing about it that Deacon brought out last week. Israel, we got to be a people that come out and understand that we can't do what the world do. We can't do what the other nations do. We have to be a separated people, and that's to come back and keep God's commandments.